You come home from a simple gathering and collapse into silence, wondering why you feel so heavy. The conversations were ordinary, yet your body carries the weight of hours of hidden tension. It is as if you attended not one meeting, but 100 different emotional storms. Your chest feels tight, your mind cluttered with echoes of laughter, frustration, and sadness that are not yours. Instead of feeling recharged by company, you are drained. The exhaustion runs deeper than physical tiredness. It feels like you have been carrying invisible baggage all day. This is the quiet cost of emotional absorption. While others walk away untouched, you return home carrying the residue of everyone's unspoken emotions. You did not choose to take them on, yet they cling to you. The burden leaves you questioning why simply being with people feels so heavy. In moments of reflection, you begin to notice a strange pattern. The sadness that weighed on you after lunch fades when you realize it belonged to a friend. The anxiety that tightened your chest was not your own, but the unspoken fear of someone sitting nearby. Jung described this blurring of boundaries as participation mystique, a merging of your psyche with the collective atmosphere. Your sensitivity picks up what others suppress, carrying emotions they will not admit. Without realizing it, you become a container for what does not belong to you. The realization is unsettling but also liberating. If some of your heaviness is not yours, then you are not as broken as you feared. You are sensitive, not weak. The challenge is learning how to notice what you have absorbed and to release it without losing your own center. There is a way to carry your sensitivity without being crushed by it. Jung believed that awareness and differentiation allow you to keep what is truly yours and release what belongs to others. Sensitivity, when managed, becomes a strength rather than a constant drain. In this video, you will learn practical tools for protecting your energy. From daily reset rituals to grounding practices and visualization, you will discover methods to filter emotional noise. These tools will help you remain compassionate without being overwhelmed by the weight of others. By the end, you will see that emotional absorption is not a curse, but a gift in need of guidance. When you learn to protect your energy, you transform exhaustion into clarity and reclaim the freedom to live from your own center with balance and strength. Jung used the term participation mystique to describe this strange merging that happens when boundaries dissolve between individuals. In this state, you are no longer only yourself. You begin to carry the unspoken emotions, desires, and fears of those around you as if they were your own. For most people, this merging is temporary and subtle. But for highly sensitive or perceptive individuals, it can become constant. They do not just sense the surface moods of others. They absorb the entire atmosphere, taking in both spoken and unspoken content that lingers long after the encounter. This merging is the root of emotional absorption. It explains why you may walk into a room and feel instantly heavy or restless without knowing why. You are tuned not only to words, but to the hidden emotional field. While it grants deep empathy, it also leaves you vulnerable. Highly perceptive people process reality at a deeper level. Their nervous systems are finely tuned, noticing subtle cues in tone, posture, and energy that others overlook. This heightened awareness allows them to detect emotions before they are spoken, but it also means those emotions seep inward. Jung observed that these individuals unconsciously take on what others suppress. A colleague hides stress, a friend masks grief, a stranger conceals anger, yet the sensitive person feels it all. Instead of passing by unnoticed, these unspoken emotions lodge themselves in the perceptive psyche. Absorption is not weakness, but the natural consequence of deep empathy. The same openness that allows rare understanding also leaves boundaries thin. Without conscious management, the line between your feelings and the emotions of others fades, making it hard to know what truly belongs to you. Sensitivity is both a blessing and a burden. On one side, it allows you to perceive depth, connect with authenticity, and offer empathy that others experience as healing. People feel safe with you because you notice what they cannot say and hold space for truths they struggle to admit. On the other side, this same openness can overwhelm you. Absorbing emotions without filters leaves you exhausted, scattered, or even ill. The very gift that makes you valuable to others becomes a source of suffering for you, turning perception into a weight you did not choose. Jung believed that every strength has a shadow. Sensitivity without boundaries becomes absorption, but sensitivity with awareness becomes wisdom. The challenge is learning how to hold your openness in a way that honors both your gift and your need for protection. One of the clearest signs of emotional absorption is when your mood changes suddenly, without explanation. You may feel fine one moment, then anxious, heavy, or restless the next. Nothing in your own life triggered it, yet the emotion arrives with full intensity, as if it were yours. These shifts often happen after contact with others. A brief conversation, a crowded train, or even a simple glance can transmit an emotional charge. Sensitive individuals absorb it unconsciously, confusing borrowed feelings with their own. The result is inner turbulence that seems to come from nowhere. Recognizing this pattern is the first step. When a sudden mood change appears, pause and ask yourself, is this truly mine? By questioning, you begin to separate your authentic emotional state from the unspoken atmosphere you have absorbed, preventing unnecessary confusion and suffering. Another sign of emotional absorption is the exhaustion that follows time spent in groups. A casual meeting, a party, or even a day at work can leave you feeling as if you have run a marathon. The tiredness is not physical alone. It is emotional weight collected from many people. Crowds amplify this effect. Each person carries their own hidden stress, fears, and frustrations. While most pass through without noticing, the sensitive person absorbs fragments of them all. By the time you leave, you are carrying a dozen emotional stories that were never yours to begin with. This explains why solitude often feels restorative. Alone, you release what you picked up and reconnect with your own center. Jung believed that for perceptive individuals, time away from the collective is not luxury, but necessity. Without it, emotional exhaustion becomes a constant companion. A striking sign of emotional absorption is when you continue to carry the pain of others long after they have moved on. Someone shares their struggles, feels lighter after speaking, and leaves the conversation renewed. Yet you remain heavy, holding the sadness or fear as if it were your own. This happens because your empathy does not stop at listening. Your system takes in the emotional energy itself. While others release their burden by sharing, you absorb it fully, sometimes carrying it for days. Their relief becomes your weight, creating imbalance in the exchange. Jung observed that such dynamics are common among deeply sensitive personalities. The gift of compassion becomes distorted when you confuse empathy with responsibility. Until you learn to release what is not yours, you will keep living with pain that was never meant for you to hold. When you absorb the emotions of others, your inner clarity fades. You may struggle to tell which feelings belong to you and which were borrowed. Decisions become harder because your perspective is clouded by the weight of emotions that do not originate within your own experience. Over time, this can blur your identity. Instead of moving through life from a place of authenticity, you find yourself reacting to moods and energies picked up from others. The self becomes less distinct, replaced by a shifting collection of emotional echoes. Jung warned that this loss of clarity weakens individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. Without boundaries, your sense of self can dissolve into the collective. Protecting your energy is therefore not selfish, but essential for maintaining your authentic identity. Constantly carrying emotions that are not yours drains your inner resources. What begins as simple tiredness eventually grows into emotional fatigue. You may wake already heavy, struggle to focus, or feel a quiet exhaustion that rest alone cannot heal. This is the cost of unfiltered absorption. Over time, fatigue can deepen into burnout. Your nervous system becomes overwhelmed, leaving you irritable, detached, or numb. Activities that once brought joy feel burdensome, and even small interactions require enormous effort. Burnout signals that your emotional capacity has been exceeded for too long. Jung believed that unprocessed emotional weight erodes vitality. Energy meant for creativity and growth is spent on carrying burdens that were never yours. Unless you learn to release these loads, burnout will repeat in cycles, each time leaving you more depleted than before. A common trap for sensitive individuals is confusing empathy with responsibility. Feeling someone's pain does not mean you must solve it. Yet when you absorb emotions deeply, you may believe it is your duty to carry them, as if their healing depends entirely on your shoulders. This confusion creates a cycle of exhaustion. Instead of offering presence and compassion, you take on burdens that were never yours. You may feel guilty for setting boundaries or saying no, forgetting that empathy is about understanding, not sacrificing your own well-being for others. Jung emphasized that true service requires wholeness. If you are overwhelmed by carrying the pain of others, you cannot offer authentic support. Real empathy allows you to feel with someone while still remembering where you end and they begin. Responsibility for their healing is not yours to claim. The first step toward protecting your energy is learning to recognize which emotions are truly yours. When a feeling arises, pause and ask, did this begin with me, or did it appear after being with someone else? This simple question can reveal how much you are carrying unconsciously. Awareness creates separation. By identifying what was absorbed, you prevent confusion between your authentic self and borrowed emotions. Clarity returns when you acknowledge that not every weight you feel belongs to your story. Some of it is residue from the people and spaces around you. Jung called this conscious discrimination, the ability to distinguish self from collective. Without it, your identity blurs. With it, you regain choice. Recognition does not erase sensitivity, but transforms it, allowing you to stay open to others while remaining firmly rooted in your own center. Once you recognize what is not yours, the next step is separation. Jung emphasized the importance of solitude as a way to release collective emotions. Time alone clears the noise, allowing your psyche to return to its natural rhythm and reminding you of who you are. Grounding practices strengthen this separation. Walking barefoot on the earth, focusing on your breath, or simply noticing physical sensations in the body helps anchor you in the present. These rituals reconnect you with your own energy and create space between your feelings and those you have absorbed. Solitude is not isolation. It is medicine for the sensitive nervous system. By regularly withdrawing, you prevent overwhelm from building. Each moment of grounding and quiet strengthens your boundaries, making it easier to engage deeply with others without losing your sense of self. The final step is integration. Instead of rejecting your sensitivity, you learn to use it consciously. Empathy becomes a tool rather than a burden. You can feel with others while remembering that their emotions are theirs to process, not weights for you to carry endlessly. Integration means shifting from unconscious absorption to deliberate choice. You remain open enough to understand people, but grounded enough to release what does not belong to you. The gift of empathy stays intact, yet it no longer drains you because you hold it with awareness. Jung believed individuation requires this balance. Sensitivity is not meant to dissolve your identity, but to enrich it. When integrated, empathy guides you toward connection and service without erasing your boundaries. You become both deeply compassionate and fully yourself, strong in clarity and presence. Protecting your energy begins with consistent solitude. Even short periods of silence help release emotions absorbed from others. A daily ritual of sitting quietly, walking alone, or resting without distraction allows the borrowed weight to fade and your own inner voice to re-emerge. Reset practices amplify this effect. Taking a warm shower, lighting a candle, or breathing deeply while visualizing release signals the psyche to let go. These simple actions mark the transition between carrying the world's emotions and returning to your own center. Jung believed solitude was not a luxury, but a necessity for sensitive individuals. Without it, The boundary between self and others dissolves. With it, you regain clarity and strength. Daily resets ensure that compassion does not become exhaustion, but remains a balanced source of connection. Writing is a powerful tool for separating what belongs to you from what you have absorbed. At the end of the day, note the strongest emotions you felt. Ask yourself which ones arose from your own experiences, and which appeared after being with certain people or in certain places. This process of emotional sorting clears confusion. When you see feelings on paper, you can begin to recognize patterns. Some emotions are repeated, but never trace back to your own life. These are borrowed, and naming them as such helps you release their hold on your mind and body. Journaling also deepens self-awareness. Over time, you learn what energies trigger you most and how they affect your behavior. With practice, you stop confusing borrowed emotions with your own truth. Instead, writing becomes a daily act of cleansing and reclaiming clarity. Visualization creates a mental shield that helps you engage with others without losing yourself. Imagine a gentle light surrounding your body, strong enough to filter what enters, yet soft enough to let love and truth pass through. This simple image trains your psyche to hold boundaries naturally. Boundary practices also include verbal and physical cues. Saying no when needed, stepping back from draining conversations, or limiting time in overwhelming environments protects your energy. These actions remind you that empathy is not the same as endless availability. Jung emphasized that individuation requires boundaries. Without them, the self dissolves into the collective. With them, compassion becomes sustainable. Visualization and conscious boundaries transform your sensitivity from vulnerability into strength, allowing you to connect deeply while staying firmly anchored in your own center. Emotional energy that is absorbed but not released often settles in the body. Movement helps clear it out. Walking, stretching, dancing, or practicing yoga allows your body to shake off what does not belong to you, restoring balance between mind and nervous system. Breathwork is equally powerful. Deep rhythmic breathing calms the nervous system and signals safety, releasing tension absorbed from others. Even a few minutes of focused breathing can reset your state, reminding you that you are separate from the emotions you have been carrying. Physical release turns empathy into flow rather than buildup. By moving and breathing with intention, you create a cycle. Feel, release, restore. Jung taught that embodiment connects psyche and body. Through such practices, emotional absorption no longer erodes your strength, but becomes fuel for vitality. When you learn to recognize and release what is not yours, absorption transforms into compassion. Instead of drowning in the emotions of others, you can hold them gently and reflect them back with understanding. Your sensitivity shifts from burden to gift, offering comfort without self-destruction. Compassion does not mean taking responsibility for someone else's healing. It means being present while they face their own truth. By staying centered, you provide a mirror rather than a sponge. Others feel seen and supported, while you remain steady in your own identity. Jung believed that compassion born from integration is stronger than sympathy born from overwhelm. Once you master this shift, your presence itself becomes medicine. You no longer lose yourself in others' emotions, but you still help them find the courage to face what they carry. True service requires balance. If you give without boundaries, exhaustion follows. But when you learn to separate your emotions from those of others, you can support people deeply without draining your own energy. Service becomes sustainable, rooted in clarity rather than sacrifice. Instead of carrying someone's pain, you witness it. You stand beside them, offering empathy and insight, but you do not take their burden into your own body. This distinction allows you to remain strong while still being a source of comfort and guidance. Jung emphasized that healing presence does not come from rescuing others, but from embodying wholeness. When you serve without depletion, you model integration. Your balance shows that compassion can coexist with strength, and that helping others does not require losing yourself in the process. When you stop absorbing emotions unconsciously, your relationships change. Instead of being shaped by hidden tension, they become grounded in honesty. You no longer carry what is unspoken, so connections grow from mutual respect rather than invisible weight. Balance becomes the foundation for authenticity. Authentic bonds thrive on clarity. You know what belongs to you, and you allow others to hold what belongs to them. This prevents resentment and restores equality. You can give freely without feeling drained and receive support without guilt. Relationships evolve into partnerships of truth and trust. Jung believed individuation strengthens not only the self, but also human bonds. When you bring awareness into relationships, you invite others to do the same. Together, you build connections that are not built on masks or projection, but on the freedom of being fully seen and accepted. Your sensitivity has never been a flaw. It is the reason you notice what others miss, the reason people feel safe confiding in you, and the reason you can sense truth beneath the surface. What once felt like a burden is in fact evidence of rare depth. The exhaustion you experienced was not because you were too fragile, but because you carried emotions that did not belong to you. Now, with awareness and tools, you can protect your energy. Sensitivity becomes strength when it is guided, rather than weakness to be hidden. Jung taught that individuation requires honoring every part of yourself, including your sensitivity. When you embrace it as a gift, you no longer apologize for who you are. You stand rooted in clarity, showing that awareness is power and presence is strength. There is strength in declaring your commitment out loud. By writing the words, "I protect my energy," you affirm that your sensitivity is valuable and worth safeguarding. This simple act transforms vulnerability into intention, reminding you and others that awareness is an active choice. When many voices speak these words together, they form a collective promise. Each declaration becomes a signal to others walking the same path, proof that they are not alone in learning to carry depth without depletion. It creates a hidden community of resilience and balance. This tribal call is more than affirmation, it is practice. Every time you say the words, you reinforce your boundary and strengthen your clarity. You remind yourself that empathy does not mean self-sacrifice. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is essential for living fully. The longer you wait to protect your energy, the heavier the burden becomes. Emotional absorption does not fade on its own. Without conscious practices, the cycle of exhaustion and burnout repeats. Each day of delay is another day of carrying what was never yours to hold. Beginning now shifts everything. Even one grounding ritual, one moment of solitude, or one honest boundary can restore clarity. These small steps build momentum, freeing you from the weight of borrowed emotions. Change starts not with perfection, but with action taken today. Jung believed transformation begins the moment you choose awareness. Protecting your energy is not optional. It is essential if you want to live with authenticity and strength. The time is not later, the time is now. Your clarity depends on the choices you make today. Freedom begins when you stop confusing the weight of others with your own truth. The moment you release what does not belong to you, your energy returns. Clarity fills the space where exhaustion once lived, and you remember the strength of standing firmly in yourself. Your sensitivity is not a curse but a compass. It allows you to navigate life with depth and intuition, but only when guided by boundaries. With clarity, you can choose what to carry and what to let go. That choice is where freedom truly lives. Hold this truth close. You are not here to drown in the emotions of the world. You are here to witness, to understand, and to serve from balance. Protect your energy, trust your clarity, and you will discover that your freedom has been within you all along.